Today, it's Marvel time, or to be more specific, it's the Amazing Spider-Man movie time, as we are taking a look at an action figure that's living in a symbiosis with the movie. It's both supposed to promote it and to cash in on it, and it is simply known as Poseable Spider-Man. It was released by Hasbro in 2012, and I will tell you already, given the name, it's not what I expected. Disclaimer, I'm not a very huge Spider-Man fan. Of course, there was a time when I was watching the Amazing Spider-Man TV series, and then I watched Spectacular Spider-Man TV series, and I enjoyed both of them at the time, but I am not a huge Spider-Man franchise enthusiast, and this is my only Spider-Man toy to date. And I admit, on visual side, this looks really nice. It's a Spider-Man costume from the movie, but I will tell you, I am not a big fan, so I wouldn't be able to tell apart all the other versions. I know how the Amazing Spider-Man version looks. Movie versions all look the same to me, but this is a really nicely done costume. Like with Hasbro things, it's mostly injected plastic and few paint applications are present, but we have, for example, the silver painted soles of the feet, not perfectly, but this is Hasbro we are talking about, no perfection is expected, but you have some really nice black Spider-Man logo over here on the chest, on the torso, quite nice, especially with the size of the figure, which is around 10.5 centimeters or 3 3/4 of an inch. It's pretty much the same size as G.I. Joe's and Star Wars and modern figures, slightly smaller than Deluxe Transformers, but we shall see how long that will last. And I really like the spider web details that are all over the top of the figure. Here on the head we have the painted eyes, definitely Spider-Man and not Deadpool. I really love these details, and I like how they change as we go down. This is some kind of mesh. It looks really nice. Tons of little bits, really great. And back to the spider web. I admit, in terms of touch and overall visual presence, this is a really nice thing to look at. I admit. And on the back, not so much to work with, but still enough to please the eye. Thankfully, this is not a Transformer, so no such things as kibble is existing. Really good looking action figure. I will admit that is a strong point of this figure, no doubt about it. However, the poseability, the main selling gimmick of this toy, after which it takes its name, is kind of problematic for me because, yes, there is poseability in this action figure, lots of it, but for me it's more like we have potential that's not really realized. Some solutions are nice, some could have been better, so overall the poseability is kind of decent but not spectacular, not amazing, not what I was thinking of when I was opening the box. So, the first thing that I look at when dealing with an action figure's poseability is how this poseability translates into stability, because usually all these joints means that there are so many ways to mess up the balance. Many toys have simpler articulation exactly for this reason, to make it more stable, to make it actually possible for the toy to stand on its own. And also not to annoy kids because, like I said, many joints, many things to fiddle, so it makes it all kind of more tiresome for a younger audience. So anyway, a simple test of balance. As you can see, Spider-Man can stand on his own, that's a good start, but let's see how much force will it take to actually push him over. Yoink. Not so much. And now let's go through all these joints, starting with the head. It's on a universal joint. It can spin around so we can have exhausted Spider-Man, no problem, and he can look up and down, like so. And you can probably already tell that this is a two-way joint, so we have a rotation over here, and we have a tilt over here, no rotation beneath that, so you can make Spider-Man do such things like, huh? No, that really looks kind of like Deadpool's idea of a pose. But yeah, you can't tilt his head to the sides. I should probably already mention that among all these 31 joints, only one is a ball joint, the others are universal joints. So we have the arms, which will not go any closer to the body, probably not to mess up the pattern of the costume, and they can move like so, and only like so. There's no way to move them any higher, really. There's simply not enough cut in the part to make it possible. I suppose if you use this joint, you can change that. Yes, we have a rotation joint in the shoulder, and we have a swivel just beneath that. Works quite well. And we have a double hinge elbow, which gives you around this much of articulation, over 90 degrees, quite well. And we have a very, very tiny wrist swivel, which works nice, and we also have a wrist wiggle, like so, quite nice. These are not detachable, by the way, and we have the only ball joint in the whole toy for the torso. So it can technically move slightly back and forward, but due to the sculpture of the torso, it's nothing like SH Figure Arts, for example, and it can also spin around if you need something like that. And now let's go to the knees, which also have a very nice bend thanks to a dual joint. We have feet which can move up and down. Kind of look like slippers, don't they? And we have also side swivel in the feet. So this is nice. I like some of the solutions, but here is what I really hate about this toy and pretty much every other Hasbro made Marvel toy I have in my collection. This very weird triple universal joint used for the waist. Wait, that's not a waist, that's a hip. Sorry, my bad. And the way it's done is that we have a rotation joint over here, and inside of this we have a vertical swivel. So you can make something like this, or at least try. This is designed to keep the flow of the costume, but it also means that moving around the legs is really annoying, at least for me. I would really much prefer a simple ball joint, but no, we have something like this. So let's try to expose this, like so. Yeah, that's the main perpetrator. So now if you move this, you can move the leg forward, and if you change the position to backwards, you can move the leg backwards, like so. But as you can see, it's kind of fiddly. It requires you to actually move only this part. Sometimes the resistance between the pieces will help you with that. Sometimes if you have a looser rotation over here, you will have to get your finger here and try to spin it around. It's really annoying. And a full split is possible? Oh yes, a full split will be possible, like so. But again, it feels counterintuitive, not very natural, and okay, I have to admit, in case of this toy, it's nothing really nightmarish, but in case of my Iron Man figures, that is a real pain, so we can say that Spider-Man had it easier. But really, I don't like this solution. I would much prefer a simple ball joint. I would really like to have some more spaces over here. Fine, let's expose the joint, but at least make it user-friendly. Also, a thing of concern to me, the quality of these joints is not very good. Sure, the main figure is made of pretty durable plastic, but the joints themselves, look at this. They bend so easy. They will not survive a kid, at least not a very spontaneous kid. And the same thing happens over here, look at this. This just waits to be broken. And some Hasbro toys, for example Transformers, are engineered in a way that their joints will separate without being destroyed when excessive force is used on them, but this does not look like one of these cases. I think the first time it snaps is the last time it snaps. Also, on a side note, I no longer have the box for this, but I'm pretty sure it promised us closed fists and web-slinging hand. Where are these things? They were not in the box. There were no other parts of this toy other than the figure in the box. And that's also another problem I have with this figure as a whole. It does nothing aside being poseable. Of course, I should think that's the case when I bought it because it said Poseable Spider-Man, but the problem is poseability on its own is not always the perfect solution. Sometimes you need some extra effect parts to make the poseability shine, like it happens with SH Figuarts, Robot Spirits and other high-end action figures. Here we have the joints, we have the potential, but we can't realize it properly. Unless we are talking about ground poses. Yes, Spider-Man can pull a few of them, but still it's not really satisfying, especially when you think that this is Spider-Man. Yes, he does fight villains on the ground, but he is one of these characters known specifically for slinging around cities at high altitudes. He swings his web from one building to another. He pretty much spends most of his time in the air. And we have no way of putting him in the air in this toy. There was no stand, nothing to help him elevate him. It's really a big disappointment. And he's not even compatible with any stands, like for example modern Transformers Generations toys. No pegs, no clips. Sure, you can actually put him on a Tamashi stage, for example, but that's something you have to buy separately. So basically, the poseability is here, but it doesn't mean much to me. And now it's time for some comparisons. First off, with some robots from my collection. Here we have Deluxe Optimus Prime full of Cybertron versions from Transformers Generations, and here we have Revoltech Giant Robo, which I will review as soon as I find his spare hands. And here's Spider-Man next to Han Solo from the Carbonite set from Star Wars The Power of the Force, Iron Man Mark 6 from Iron Man 2 toy line, I hate your hips, and here is VF-11B Thunderbolt from Yamato's GNU Do from Macross Plus. And finally, here is Spider-Man next to the common Colacan, the marvelous €1 and the magnificent $1. To sum it all up, I can't say that I like this toy all that much. Yes, it looks very nice, but the poseability, which is supposed to be the main gimmick here, firstly is the only gimmick, and secondly has some very questionable design choices. Yes, some of the joints work really nicely, but others are a mess, both in terms of play value and in terms of their durability. So I wouldn't expect this toy to live long or to keep your attention for long, because as I said before, with no accessories that would help the poseability shine, it's really kind of disappointing. Yes, it has potential, but unfortunately that potential is far, far out of Spider-Man's reach, so as a whole I do not recommend this toy. And that's all for this video review. I will be back with the next one soon, and until then, stay well.